Hey Rockstar, Steve aka Void here. Welcome to another episode of Riff Starter, where I help you play your favorite riffs from day one by removing those annoying speed bumps and roadblocks that slow you down. So all the strategies and techniques from the show can be found in my best-selling book, Practice Less, Play More, which can be found at playsongsfaster.com. So welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited about today's episode because we're going to be talking about Lithium by Nirvana. And this is my favorite Nirvana riff. Nirvana is one of my favorite bands of all time. At one point, favorite band, just totally obsessed. And so I'm really excited about today's episode, and I hope you are too. So this riff is not the hardest riff in the world, but when you see the tab in a second, I'm going to show you the tab in a second, it could be very, very awkward to play this one for a few different reasons, as I'll show you. Now, before we start, the main principle of the show, and really my main methodology, my practice less, play more, my play from day one methodology, is basically, instead of trying to match your current skill level to the level of the riff, match the riff to your current skill level, and that's how you play from day one. Now, this is how you want to start. On the first day that you start learning a song, you want to take the riff, and instead of trying to match your current skill level to the riff, you match the riff to your current skill level. That's how you play from day one. From there, then you upgrade until it sounds like the record, or until the itch is scratched, until you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, that's totally up to you, because your level and your skill level and your goals are all unique, right? So it makes sense that you don't have to just like think this is what I should be doing. If you feel satisfied, if you're having fun with the riff, or maybe if you're performing and it's good enough for performance, then great. It doesn't have to sound exactly like the record. And I find that a lot of guitar players, they kind of miss that mark. They think that it has to sound just like the record, or they have to start by making it sound just like the record. So let's actually get over to my screen, and oh, there we go. Okay, there. You should be able to see my my screen over here. Let me know in the comments if you can see that. Basically, this riff, there's a few different things. There are a few different speed bumps, even right off the bat. The first one is that this says tune down one step. So tuning, instead of E, A, D, G, B, E, standard tuning, this has D, G, C, F, A, D. So now that's not necessarily a big deal, but for some people, that's actually a riff stopper. I mean, that's like, for me, I could tell you that a lot of times, if I know that a song has to be tuned down, if it's a different tuning on the guitar, I might put it off and play something else, just because it's a little. If you have just one guitar, it's going to take a little while for the tuning to set in, and the strings might snap. It's not that big of a deal, but it could be a riff stopper that could create some friction. So there are a few different ways around that. Instead of trying to tune down to the track, what you could do is you could take the track and tune it up to your guitar, so tune to standard. Okay, so there are different ways to do that. You could even just search on YouTube. There might be Lithium standard tuning, and someone may have already done that work for you. Or if you have a software like RIFFSTARTER, or I think Song Surgeon does it, Capo, you could bump up the pitch on the track. So this would be in our case, it would be 2 semitones, okay, or 2 half steps, and that's another way to do it. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a Digitech drop pedal. So actually I am in standard tuning. This is my actual guitar sound. Okay, but with the Digitech drop pedal now, I'm in a whole step lower. So it's a great pedal. I really love it. So basically, that's how I'm getting around it. Now, there's one other way to do it. I'll show you at the end how to get around it even with a standard tuned guitar. Or at least like a guitar that's not like fully drop tuned. And so let's get to the tab. Now, these other speed bumps that might get in the way are, okay, so you start, this is how a lot of guitar players will learn a song. Basically, you start from left and you go all the way to right. So you go first move, okay, then you see this little X here, okay, and then which means like muffle the strings. And then you see the 4th fret, and then 6th fret, and then muffle, and then that's not even to mention the palm mute over here, and the let ring, and the palm mute and let ring. It's just lots of instructions. We haven't even gotten out of the first bar yet, right? So second bar, we have. Okay, so already you could see how, even if as an intermediate guitar player, looking at some of these moves here, trying to do every single move, these are speed bumps. This is taking you away from what the song sounds like, okay? Because you're looking at a visual representation of the music. This is how the music looks. If you take exactly what Kurt Cobain played on the record, in that performance, on that take, this is what it looks like. So if you want to play it at face value, then you kind of have to deal with like remembering all the little moves, like palm muting. A lot of guitar players just like notorious for just doing too much at once and overwhelming themselves. So it's like palm muting, okay? And by the way, myself included, okay? And this is what the song will end up sounding like after like, it's like after maybe 5 minutes or even the full session, the whole practice session. That's kind of what it would sound like. It's not really flowing, and it doesn't sound like someone just letting loose and playing. It sounds like someone's thinking about all the little moves, okay? So instead, what we want to do is we want to just think about, okay, how does this song sound? Bum, ba ba bum, ba ba bum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum, ba bum ba ba ba. Okay, so like I'm kind of like thinking to myself, right? So we're not looking for like, you know, Pavarotti caliber vocals. It's just like kind of like humming to yourself, like bum ba ba bum ba ba bum ba 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 ba. Like how would an 8-year-old pick up the guitar and play a song? Like get into a room and jam. I mean, that's kind of how we want to approach it. And so even if it's you know, quick and dirty, even with downstrokes, playing some of these power chords. Okay, now I'm gonna skip ahead to imagine you just like you're an intermediate player, you just know the moves. Like you have this, you have these chords here. So already you're so far ahead because now you can actually perform that. You could jam with some buddies. You can perform that. Like that version is workable. It's not exactly like what Kurt Cobain does on the record, but it doesn't matter because at first, like that's one valid option, just playing some downstrokes and playing some of these power chords and kind of imitating the rhythm that you remember. If let's say you're a beginner, then what you can do is, if you don't know the moves, then you want to get these root notes here, and I would just start with one finger. I would go open, then 4th fret, then so on the 6th string, then we have 4th fret on the 5th string, then we have 5th fret on the 6th string. So I would go like this. I would go. Even actually, I'm doing too many pick strokes. I would go. And I would do it all with the index finger because they're going to end up being power chords. So I go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when that feels comfortable, I turn those into power chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This riff shouldn't make sense. It doesn't make musical sense, but Kurt Cobain's melody is so good that it ties it all together. It's amazing. This is one of the reasons it's my favorite song. It's my favorite Nirvana song. So since it's very weird, what you also want to do, even as an intermediate player, you might want to even do this exercise here and follow the path of the finger. So basically you have this vertical, then diagonally across, and then diagonally down, go across, and like that path, the way that line works, like you want to remember that path, because when you're playing the power chords, or if you're playing the individual notes, you just want to remember that journey that the fingers go on there, that so you can visualize that path. It'll just make it easier to remember and also to execute, okay? Because this is a very strange chord progression. Excuse me, chord progression. So, as far as the power chords go, you can play along with the record with this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do that along with the record, and it's totally cool. Like I call it SOS, standing on stage. Like imagine you're standing on stage with Nirvana, and you're just supporting them. You're playing something that's compatible, okay? You don't have to play all of the moves. So that's another way to play from day one. Okay, so you just play something that's compatible. Now, you could do what I did as the next step after that. The next upgrade might be like... Okay, now you don't have to play on this section here. You don't have to play all of these slides. Ba 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 ba. These little grace note slides. Ba 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 bum. And definitely, this is very strange. Like this one power chord is a 3-note power chord. That's ridiculous. Like if you're getting caught up in face value, like, oh yeah, on this one here, there's a little bit more. That's just, you got the wrong idea. Like that's and it's not your fault either, because this is kind of what a lot of guitar players will do, is they'll just approach it exactly like the tab is gospel, almost like the tab is scripture. Like, let's just honor this tab, and whatever this the transcriber did, that's what we're going to be following. And that's just ridiculous, because that's like Kurt Cobain didn't even play it this same exact way every single time. Okay, so it's just on that particular take that he did that day recording Nirvana Nevermind, basically he played it this way, and it's documented via audio in the song that we hear, but also this is a transcription by someone that put this on PDF, like, or like even in a songbook, let's say, like on paper. That's what they transcribed. It's exactly what's on Nevermind, okay? But you can't take it as a face value, because Kurt Cobain didn't even play it like this all the time, okay? So basically that logic is like I said, you want to take, instead of trying to match your current skill level to the level of the record, you match the level of the record to your current skill level. That's how you play from day one. Okay, so far we have some options here, and like I said, you have the downstrokes, and you have the single notes. All that stuff is really this is going to get you to play from day one. Now, there's one other way to do it, though. Let's just say if the power chords are a little bit too tricky, if you can't tune down, or if you don't want to tune down, if you can't find a standard tuning version of the track, so you can't tune the track up, then what you can do is just tune one string down. You can basically go to drop D, okay? So you can just get your tuner and turn to drop D. So let me go back to standard here. Okay. And what you could do is you could play as, so in drop D, that also works with this song. Okay, so you basically can play the same chords, with drop D. So you go like open, 4, 9, 5, 8, 10, 7, 10, and you can kind of mimic the song with just drop D, and that's just one finger power chord. So you get away with it because it's all power chords. It actually sounds pretty good. So that's another way to do it. It's, I think really the message here is you make this your own. Guitar has to be your own. It's like we kind of play guitar to stick it to the man, but then we're following the scripture, like the tabs, and following the instructions we think we have to do. And we're following it like, a very, very, it's like a strict discipline, and we're not sticking it to the man doing it that way. We want to pick up the guitar. We want to just play. We want to just play something and play what we hear in our head. Doing it the face value way, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just slower is really what I'm trying to say here. It's just slower. And you might not ever end up with something that is usable. And doing it the way that I'm showing you here is a real shortcut to just getting into a room with other people and jamming, or playing along with the record, or performing live. These are the ways that we do it, is just not trying to be perfect, not trying to do exactly what's on the record. Think of those as just like suggestions. Okay, I think that's a good way to look at tabs. They're just suggestions. And you want to start off by, instead of trying to match your level to the level of the riff, match the riff to your current skill level. That's how you play from day one. So you start like that, and then you upgrade, using things that I showed you here, and then even be creative. You'll learn other things, other tools, and even from previous episodes of RIFFSTARTER, there are other tools that I showed you. So you could upgrade until it sounds like the record, and then you go as far as you want to. If it scratches the itch just playing the power chords and playing along with the record, great, move on, next part or next song. Okay, but if you want to just keep going and play it exactly like how it is on the record, this is actually going to get you there faster. It seems like more steps, but it's actually going to get you there faster, because everything is based on a musical foundation. Every upgrade is based on a musical foundation, and then if one of the upgrades takes too long, as you're practicing that, you can just play the version that was the previous version that you had before. That's why this works. Okay, so that's enough for today's episode for Lithium. Again, this is my favorite Nirvana riff. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next episode of RIFFSTARTER.